So what you're saying is, what kind of liberty do litigants have in presenting evidence? Is the question?
Yeah, because if you have
That's a great
Babylonian
question.
says one thing, you should not, I don't know, you should not wipe your hand like this, but the other one says you wash your table like this is mine and it's stupid, what I just said. But
Yes, that's a great question. In fact, there's actually three different kinds of courts. There's a court comprised of 3 justices. That was for more simple monetary laws. There was a court comprised of 23 justices. That was even for capital punishment. And then there was the super court of the Sanhedrin that had 71 justices that was dealing with national issues and mediating amongst different opinions with regards to the theory of the law and the theory and the spirit and the particular aspects of the law. Now, when a question is raised, and this is multiplied if it's a case dealing with capital punishment, we want to get as much information as possible. That's why there was always interns, so to speak, clerks that were always there to try to just say ideas. And in fact, the Mishnah says that even if someone is accused of a grievous, heinous crime of murder, that the justices would always try to find some loophole to get him off the hook. And in fact, he himself, the defendant himself, is allowed to propose reasonings, rationale why they should be innocent. And even after the verdict is given out, and even after the execution is about to happen, if he says, I have a rationale, I have a reasoning, I have a theory why potentially I can get off the hook, they would stop everything and bring him back, and the appeal would begin. So yes, we are always looking for as much insight and information and potential angles of a certain issue as possible to try to get as accurate a verdict and a judgment as possible. Now, the Talmud even says that if the Talmud just telling us what they would do in the judicial practices, but the Talmud's so concerned that we get everyone's honest opinion that if, let's say, you have 23 justices and there's the Chief Justice, well, who goes first in presenting the theories? If it's the big guy, well, then people are scared to argue with the big guy. They want to raise. They want to, So then if he goes first, well, then everyone's scared to argue. So they start from the littlest guy, and then they move up.
Is it the youngest?
Well, it's the youngest, but also when were they promoted? Lowest in status, yes. So because we want to get people we want to hear every side to try to find a way to get to make the guy innocent. Now, they would also have, like I said, these rabbinic or clerks or interns that were there. They call them students. And if a student says, "I have a theory that maybe the guy should, that we could maybe investigate," they would say, "Oh, you have a theory? Come sit over here." And he sits all the way in the front, and he gives his theory. Now, he sits there the entire day. So the Mishnah says he sits there the entire day. He doesn't sit down the whole day. Why not? Because let's say the guy says a theory, and it's some cockamamie theory. It doesn't work. So he has to go down, right? So everyone sees, oh, you walked up, you said your theory, now everyone realizes it's baloney. So then people will be steered to propose new ideas, right? Because they're scared. No one wants to be humiliated by being sent back down if their theory is bogus. So what they said is that if someone says, I have an idea, I want to share it, they say, you come sit in the court you sit on the bench for the rest of the day. That way, because we're trying to encourage as much information as possible. So yes, you could propose something. Everyone is allowed their time and day. We're not allowed to see one litigant if the other litigant is not present. It's against the judicial practice. The Torah goes very far in condemning bribery. It says if someone's bribed in any way, they cannot be impartial anymore. We try very much to try to get as just a verdict as possible.
So you can both answer the
absolutely.
question.
So you could
say Rabbi Shammai says this, Rabbi
yes,
says that,
yes.
Rabbi Akiva says this. As long as
yes, you'll say listen. You might say
because you said they all have different opinions.
Yes, potentially.
But once you ask a rabbi for a ruling, if that rabbi gives a ruling, you're not supposed to go to the next rabbi and say.
But that's not where there's a court case.
Right.
Court case, you're looking for majority opinion, and we try to reach the truth. What you're mentioning is that if you ask, let's say, If you ask a
If you
rabbi
tofu
for an
on
opinion,
Pesach or
yes, something like that, then
So you cannot shop for a right answer.
yeah, yes, yes. Now I know when I was in Israel, this is one of the things I
Where
learned.
you ask the rabbi who you know is going to give you the
If I
answer
ask
you
your
want.
opinion on something, I can't ask him his opinion on the same thing?
You're not supposed to.
I think with an opinion,
Well, no,
it
an
might be
opinion,
different.
right. If you're asking for a ruling.
So if I say, can I marry Joe? He's not Jewish. Can I marry him anyway? You tell me no, I can't go ask him.
In that particular
That would be a
case,
ruling.
in that particular case, you'll have different answers, right?
Yeah, but if I ask
Right.
him, you say no, that I can't go ask him, or vice versa.
If you're asking for a ruling, you're supposed to accept because when you go to a rabbi and ask for a ruling, if you're asking for an opinion, absolutely different. But if you're asking for a ruling, then you've really and you don't adhere to that ruling and go find one that you like better, then you're kind of disrespecting that. Right? Why are you asking? But if you're asking for an opinion and saying, I'm going to make my own decision, I want your opinion, and can we talk about it? Then that's up to you.
Now, I just to add on to that point, when I was in Israel, I remember there was this one. So we had there's always a lot of questions with regards to the laws of nida, that are, though especially young families that are observing the laws of nida.
What's nida?
Nida is the laws of menstruation, of marital separation at times of menstruation. The Torah says that when a woman is having her period, husband and wife should be sleeping together. Then there's a purification process, etc. So there's a lot of questions that are aroused and that are also very, almost not ambiguous, but it's a very fine line between who will say what. So I know when I would ask the opinion of one of the rabbis, he would always say, listen, I am not telling you one way or the other, but I think it's like this. But I'm not giving you what's called a psak.
He wasn't giving you a ruling.
It wasn't because he knows that if he gives a ruling, I can't really go to anyone else. And because this is the area we have to be, very sensitive. It's, it's an area affecting,
So he was
couple.
basically saying,
listen,
here's what I believe, but I don't think
I'm not giving you a psak.
It's not
exactly.
necessarily the definitive answer.
But he could say, according to the Torah, it says, if he quotes it from the Torah,
Well, yes,
that
but this
allows
is
the people to.
the more. If you want me to give you a little bit more detail on the question, it's oftentimes dealing with a particular shade of red. If some sort of emission, is it blood or is it not blood? Okay, so that's because it's part of the color palette, so to speak. And sometimes you have something which is a brown, but it may have a tinge of red in it. That's a major question, and it can really affect those who observe this particular law. And there are people that have different, because what the law says is kind of in the eyes of the beholder, so to speak, because it's talking about colors.
Right.
So if there's a tinge of red, or is it orangish, or is it pinkish, or is it just brown? And there are people that have different opinions. Some people are more stringent. They'll say unless it's a mellow yellow or something like that, then they're not going to like that. They'll say there's potential there might be blood. On the other hand, those that'll say, listen, if it's not a striking red fire truck engine red, then you have no problem. So that's why he was very careful, and I learned this from him, that whenever you're, if someone asking you for what you think, and if you don't think it's good, you tell them, listen, I can't tell you that this is fine, but why don't you go ask someone else, and maybe they can tell you that's fine. Because if you were to say it's not good, according to the law of the Talmud, that you cannot go ask another rabbi once a psak, once a definitive ruling was handed out.
So it's the subtlety both of the asker and the rabbi to say
right, but a skilled rabbi knows to say, listen, this is something which I know someone who could potentially be matir to permit it, and therefore why don't you go ask them? I don't feel comfortable. Yes. Okay.
Did everybody who wanted to ask questions?
Noelle didn't get a chance to ask anything